Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast, Stories of Awakening. Today, I have with me my friend Samantha Giovazzini. She's a yoga teacher and Kundalini activation facilitator. She will explain us what those are. And welcome, Samantha.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Valentina, for inviting me to this
Thanks for being
podcast.
here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell us your story and what you think we should know about you and your transformation, and maybe later we can talk about what you do.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank you for this initiative, the initiative that that you are taking about the podcast. I find it like very interesting, very much of an opening for all of us. So thank you for this, first of all. And
Oh,
also
thanks.
and also for holding the space, like for really like being there with the active listening skills. So yeah, I really appreciate it. And so where to start? Let's say this is stories of awakening. So I would say when this awakening started. So yeah, I was always like a kid, quite kind of playing with energies and spirits. Sorry. And also kind of like very curious about mysteries and things happening that are kind of paranormal, so just this kind of curiosity since I was a kid. And then around 20 years old, I left Italy. So now it's already 20 years that I'm not living in Italy anymore. I've been traveling and living in Argentina, in Spain a couple of times. But let's say always coming back home. That's Amsterdam. My home is in Amsterdam. So in Amsterdam, I've been working for 15 years as in office, kind of a probably common path or kind of resonating path with some of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and then 15 years in the office, that's quite a long time, really. Sometimes if I think about that kind of identity, it's a little bit feels far away,
Yeah,
You know what I
definitely.
mean?
Yeah, it was 10 years for me, so close.
Still,
I know. Yeah. So I understand what you mean.
yeah, it's quite some time. So it's quite some time also in order to build a lot of structure and conditioning that when you start to awake, then you have to let it go and release, all these kind of processes that we memorize, this autopilot that we learn to go, like we learn to activate. Then it's kind of a work. It's kind of an exploration to heal it and to let it go and to really
Yeah.
awake. So yeah, that's a little bit what happened. For me, let's say the initiating event experience that really marked a deep awakening, a deep step. I wouldn't say forward, but kind of a step into this magic energy world. Was when 2017, so about 5 years ago, something like that. And the most important foundations of my life, they just like all together kind of like boom, fall apart. So it was like so it's very interesting also how we what is the event and experience that really kind of like start this process of awakening. It's sometimes can be quite hard, sometimes can be quite of a earthquake, for our own identity, ego, energy, everything around us. So yeah, for me, it was like in the same time, I had a burnout at work. After 5 years, I was working in this American company called Tesla. Then in the same time, I broke up with my ex-boyfriend after 14 years of relationship. So another foundation there. And then the trinity of the experience was like the death of my father. Where I really had the amazing privilege and honor to be able to accompany him, so like a death doula. So that was really the most transcendental and beautiful experience so far that I ever had in my life also. So let's say that after those experiences and events, really something clicked, like, of course, there was a strong process of of also acknowledging the pain, acknowledging all these structures and this conditioning and all these everything that has been built so far, and then see it slowly how this was just like a river just flowing down. So it was just also welcoming the whole release of all these old identity, I would even say.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I think crisis,
Yeah.
more often than not, are really the catalyst for the awakening. Similar to me, it was breaking up, losing friends, health issues altogether that brought me to actually try to find ways to feel better, in my case at least. Yeah. And I feel is very common for many people when there are different areas of our life, or even just one, but that there is a crisis in that area that will push you to really awaken and find answers. So I totally understand.
Yeah, it's beautiful definition indeed, like the catalyst, and this is really also what you realize in the process of awakening. It's realizing all these attachments that we also have, all these patterns that are really like are dragging us and creating resistance to what it's really like see life from a different perspective, like it's just also changing languages in the way of really expressing yourself, using certain words instead than others, for example. It's really going subtle and deep, I would say, this process. And definitely I agree with you. It's a process that you really see manifested in your own reality through the people that are around you, through the work that you do, through the dedication, through the way you also deal with your energy, and you realize what is also like feeling what you can really do, So sometimes when I teach yoga, I say to my students, like, even though today maybe you're not 100% in your own energy, just also respect it, like don't push it, because that was for me a little bit the autopilot that I used to have. I used to be always pushing, always overpassing the boundaries. So also important to be able to build healthy boundaries as well, not only towards around us, but also towards ourselves, no?
That's very difficult part for me still now. I think not forcing things to happen, or if I am tired one day and I can postpone something, just do that. And I know myself, I always worked quite hard in my life, and I think I'm still, even with the work that I was doing, always delivering something every day at the same time. It's just ingrained in my in myself. So I kept doing it for a long time. And what I'm trying to learn this year is really flow more, which many people might confuse it with like being lazy, but in my case it's really try to use the energy that is available, not just in me, but in different seasons have different energy as well, and try to go with the flow, really. So that's a big deprogramming from what society tells you to do.
The same comment from people that tell you that it might look lazy, because actually when you start to really feel, let's say, the quantity, just to also kind of like put an understandable word, but when you really realize your energy, you really need to take care about it, so also that if you push too much, you will be much more tired. You maybe don't want to overpass your boundary. You prefer to also just respect it in advance somehow, to see it, to give it attention and to respect it. So it's not always like we are really like programmed to give always 100% and more, to be the top, to be the best, like when we are already everything, So I surrender to that as well.
I hope everyone will understand that one day.
I mean, as you said, we are all in our processes, so also respecting the fact that we can't really, we can think about our own journey, but then the others.
True. Yeah, absolutely. So all this thing happened to you and you realized that you wanted to do something else. How did it go? If you want to share, of course.
No, of course. Thank you. Yeah, well, just happened. I think that one of the, let's say, greatest lesson I ever learned from also just accompany somebody to death was really like the part of surrender really deeply. That for me was like the milestone also that then brought me all the way to what I'm doing with the Kundalini activation and holding the space, for such an amazing energy, which is the life energy, the vital energy. So that was for me really like a kind of a click that it just happened through the whole process, of course, of mourning, of grief, which is part of life. So this is also accepting that we cannot constantly repress or pushing these kind of emotions, but we need to give attention to them and to acknowledge their existences, it's not about pushing them away. It's not about saying, I want to be like this, because it's not only the cognitive mind that take the decision. It's actually the whole organism that we are, the whole intelligence. So if the body is feeling certain emotions, if we are feeling certain emotions, we have to go through. That's actually something that I'm still learning, but it was something that was very clear at that time, because I didn't have any other choice than surrender and go through all that it happened, because I couldn't fight anymore. So the fight or flight mechanism started to kind of fall apart in that way, and all the resistance that I was trying to control and to make some strategies to make that work, to don't feel the pain, to start to live again. It was completely impossible until that then divine time somehow helped me to really see then the light at the end of the tunnel. And yoga was that, for example, like yoga really saved it really gave me light, because the pain also when you lose a root in your family, it's very raw pain. So it's very visceral pain. So the body was really like in pain, and starting to move through yoga really was something that really finally I could feel alive again. And yoga, for me is still like a very important part and my lifestyle anyway. Yes. So through yoga and cultivating this path of surrender, but also of learning about my own ego. How do I react? So in yoga, it's very beautiful to see also this part of the ego. So then I arrived to also just find some actually I always say that the life force schools, the life force energy schools, they found me, because it felt really like it happened. I didn't really push to find that,
Okay.
Yeah.
And so after all that change, when you took the decision to do something else with your life, how, I don't know, your friendship took it? How was for you to admit it to yourself? You said it was quite natural, but I don't know if your family members said something about it.
Yeah, well, my mother was very happy. But she was always like, there was always this amazing trust between me and her. So she always trusted that whatever I would do, it would have been good, like, my father was different. It was more like that kind of pattern of demonstrating, of having, kind of not wanting to disappoint them, that feeling was a lot towards my father. But when he left, also that feeling left, because I couldn't project it anymore. So that was also a beautiful discovery that you can have about. And so basically, though, let's say my family was quite happy about all the changes, were also very needed, because anyway, I couldn't really come back to the office anymore. I tried. I also tried to apply for a couple of positions, but yeah, I couldn't. I can tell you a funny episode that it was like my last job. It was 2 months as a learning and development manager in a company. Um, and I was like, okay, I can just, have this kind of replacement for temporary time, for a temporary position.
Position. Mm-hmm.
And thank you. And and then I already had the idea to start the yoga teacher training. So I went there, I worked for 2 months. We had a very big task to complete, to achieve. And then I left, but they offered me another contract to continue, but I said no. And that was a test also, no, because it was a very well-paid job, was very well done. So the universe was like, come on, here it's another opportunity. Don't you want to stay in the office? I was like, no, 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 no. I decided that I'm going to do the yoga teacher training, so I would do that. Then I did the yoga teacher training. And after a couple of years, that same company asked me to go there to teach yoga.
Wow.
So I came back in that company after 2 years to teach yoga. So it was very interesting how, again, these synchronicities are happening, when you start to also flow with life and with the universe. So
That's beautiful. Yeah.
yes. So yeah, let's say that to answer to your question, friends, yeah, the friends changed. Somehow, it's interesting now because somehow I feel that we do attract people, we learn things from them, and we kind of teach things to them, or there is this kind of exchange. It's not really so materialized, but there is this kind of energetic exchange, but somehow I feel that the people that I met after or during my awakening so far are really resonating more with me in the whole layers. Sorry. There is more resonance, maybe because I also know a little bit more myself, about myself. Probably that's also a little bit the mirror that is happening, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think actually when about the people that change in your life?
Well, to me, it wasn't something new because since I moved to London, things change so much and so fast. Every year, I was having different friends because in London, as you might imagine, people come and go. There are not too many people that stay for years and years. So some just come to have some experiences, and then after a couple of years, they leave again. And it was very destabilizing for me, even before awakening, let's say, because I wasn't used to that. And here I'm back in my town in Italy, and the people that I know are living nearby. It's all very stable. I was having the same friends, since childhood. So it was really destabilizing, but also really important for me to see that things change constantly and there is nothing you can do to stop it. Stop the change. Change is really the only constant in life. And you need to just, I really learned how to let go people and situations and things, and I wasn't used to that at all. And so when I started to discover who I was, how reality works, and all the awakening stuff, I, of course, started to shift also friendship. But it was mainly online because it was during the pandemic. So I started to talk to people online, in person. It's just now that I'm finding new friendships that are more aligned to who I am and what I believe in right now. Yeah. So, but it wasn't too painful in that sense because I was used to change a lot of friends before. Yeah. It was more difficult with my family. I always say it in basically all the episodes. Yeah. But with my family was more difficult because they were really worried about me. There wasn't much trust in, believing that I was making the right choice. They just thought I was going crazy or that I was bored of working in an office or the pandemic made me nuts or something. But I think now they're understanding a bit more why I do what I do.
They
Yeah.
just need to get used,
Yeah, yeah.
No, but
Absolutely.
it's very interesting also, like when you grow up and when you awake, for me was really also see these roles that parents have in the society, but behind those roles, they are human beings, no? So,
Mm-hmm.
and they come from different generations, from different times and
Yeah.
spaces, so they have different codes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, my father, for example, never really, he was always saying in Italian, tu non sei carne né pesce. You are not meat or fish, like he was always seeing me a little bit like a hippie girl, traveling around, not settling
Mm-hmm.
down.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when I started to work for Tesla, then he started to really kind of like express his own appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
But I could understand because indeed he always loved me, but he couldn't really feel himself safe and secure about
Mm-hmm.
what I was doing just because of his own mistrust anyway,
Yeah,
So
of course. Yeah.
understanding that as daughters now, no? It's
Yeah.
interesting from that
Is
perspective.
yeah, it's a completely different generation, and what's working for them is not working for
Yeah.
us anymore. So this is, I think, normal in histories, but I think people forget about it. That things change, there is an evolution, and the what was working for their generation is not working for us. But I felt a lot of projection from them in thinking to know what was best for me.
Yeah.
And of course, based on what they knew and based
Yeah.
on what was best for them at their time. Yeah.
Of course, but that's also a lot of love, no?
Yeah, exactly. And I know they do it out of love because they don't
Yeah.
want to see me suffer. They're worried about me. Of course,
Yeah.
I know all of that, but I also know that is one of the biggest blocks that people have, not disappoint parents or family members or afraid of losing friends if they actually start doing something completely different that is not what everyone else is saying that they should do. So yeah, it's a big part of the work that I do, for sure,
Yeah.
helping people realize who they are at the core and really what they want in their life, and then just go and do it regardless what other people think or say.
So true. And
Mm.
and also anyway, I noticed this awakening path has a lot to do with also cultivating the solitude. So to also
Mhm.
know what it means to be by yourself, to count on yourself, to see yourself. So I don't know the people that I saw so far in this process as well, in this journey, they are all experiencing or exploring what it is being alone as well, which is also
Absolutely.
part.
And yeah, that's very good that you're saying that, because when I started to know myself more is when, I felt that I didn't have any friends anymore and I couldn't go out as much as I wanted anymore. And then I basically retreat and started to work on myself. And I think it is for everyone very important. And if you don't have a break, if you always have people around and you don't give yourself the opportunity to be alone, it's gonna be difficult to know yourself, I guess.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's definitely part of the process. And I think it's also, again, just happening spontaneously. As
Yeah.
you said, you retreat yourself, and yeah, it happened to me as well. So you just also feel that there is something that it's like, you need to
Hmm.
just cocoon and and then things
Yeah.
then come to you anyway. I think that it's also like part of this beautiful process that then you also start to just the tribe is coming to you in the end. So
Hmm.
whoever needs to be and meant to be in your life is coming, like you came in my life, for
It's
example.
true. You start to meet, people that are aligned with you. Yeah, I totally agree. So do you want to share a little bit more about what you do now? What is a Kundalini activation facilitator? Because I think many know what a yoga teacher is, but yeah.
So it's beautiful because for me this is somehow this is not a new path for anybody. This is something that we all have. It's our life force. It's our, Shakti, however you want to call it, Kundalini, Chi, Prana, thousands names. But it's not something new, like I think that's because somehow universally we are in this awakening path, and this is a big movement that it's happening in the whole, like in the whole human species, actually, in the whole planet, even in Gaia, so I think this is just coming back somehow, and we are starting to exploring the Kundalini activation. But Kundalini activation the Kundalini can be activated in many different ways, through yoga, through breath work. It's again not something new. What I'm actually at the moment exploring is more the activation of the Kundalini, so the activation of the life force through surrender. So let's say the modality is completely different. Usually whatever other practice you use to activate your Kundalini, it's kind of self-inducted. So you are following some instructions, you are following a guide, you are maybe led by someone else, but you are there. You have to, like follow certain procedures somehow, And in this way of activating the Kundalini, actually you just lie down. So let's say the one I facilitate to make it more understandable. The modality, the approach is completely different, So you just lie down in Shavasana, so in this calm state of being, and then basically the session itself is, I facilitate with some mudras. With some music, so there is a specific playlist that is prepared, depending also on the group. If the group is, the first time experiencing the Kundalini activation through this method, or not. So if it's already activated, so depending, of course, on the audience, on the people, there is a different playlist. And then, and then the Kundalini, the energy is just rising, and it's a beautiful co-creation. That's what I always say, and I like to underline it. There is no hierarchical system in this. I rather prefer to say that I hold the space. I'm not doing anything to anybody. This is something that we do all together, and I love to feel it like that and to express it like that, because, well, you will try soon.
Yeah.
But it's really like something that happens in the community, in the being together, itself. It's a very deep journey. What we are going to activate is really, it's actually that energy that belongs to the autonomic nervous system. So it's that part of the energy that's part of the nervous system that it's allowing all these internal movements of the heartbeat, of the saliva swelling, of all these, digestive organs functionalities. So we are just connecting with that energy. So it's really, that's why it's the vital energy. And that's why it's such a deep journey as well, because we are really going to touch very deep points there. So the experience, of course, it's very personal, very subjective. It is kind of a remembrance journey where you start to also connect with certain storage memories that you are not even conscious. You don't even remember to have, for example. And you really get in touch, reconnect with your own essence, with that really also somehow childlike essence, so it's a very beautiful process. But as the awakening, it's also like including all the parts, let's say.
Chaotic.
There is the harmonies, there is the chaos, there is the playfulness, there is the solitude, there is all this beautiful life journey in a session. So and depends where you are also in your life, because, by the way, it's not like an external substance that you take and that is going to alterate your system, but it's your own energy. So it's completely safe. It's somehow, I can tell you, it's completely under control. Because, it's your energy.
Body knows.
Yeah, exactly. It's your own intelligence.
Yeah, I was about to ask you this. Would you compare it to like a psychedelic journey. Is it
Yeah,
similar? Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely similar. In this moment, I can't really recall, but there is also a release of same kind of substances in the brain that it's happening
Mm-hmm.
during ayahuasca or DMT experiences or mushrooms or LSD. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's similar, yeah. But again, because I also tried uh, mushrooms, for example, or other psychedelics, and I do feel very safe with the activation of the life force through
Mm-hmm.
the surrender path. So also I tried with yoga, and so also to just compare it with everything a little bit. I really feel it much more gentle this way
Mm-hmm.
because it's really through the doing nothing, and
Mm-hmm.
somehow it's also difficult because surrender is not an easy thing. We are so much
No.
in the fight and, in the fight in this, since always the human being, since we arrived on Earth, we started to fight for, and well, we look at the world nowadays, nothing really changes. So, so that's why I think that the effect might be similar. Again, a very personal journey, but the modality, the approach is very different,
Mm-hmm. And
very soft also.
that's great. I'm just curious. I'm gonna ask.
Please.
So, what do people feel? If you can describe, maybe I don't know. You said it's different for everyone, but is there anything more common or that people can feel? What is the lasting effect? How long does it last? I don't know.
So, well, let's say there is definitely a sense of blissful for most of the people. It really depends. Like it might be felt immediately, of course, during the session. So during the session, you can experience a lot of things. Like you can experience blissful playfulness, sadness, all the
Mm-hmm.
emotions that we feel normally through the whole
Mm-hmm.
life. We can have that during the session. Let's say the after session usually needs a lot of integration and
Mm-hmm.
rest, but usually, of course, again, it depends. But there is a sense of blissful definitely for most of the people, sense of light, sense of
Mm-hmm.
realization, sense of
Mm-hmm.
a very strong white light. The white light is a very common vision, for example. It's
Mm-hmm.
very powerful. Um, and then, of course, depending on also your personality, you will have also certain visions depending on your beliefs, on the symbols that, they needed to appear in your life. So there is again some remembrance there. So also during the session, you might remember certain things of your childhood,
Mm-hmm.
of things that you like or things that you rejected, So
Mm-hmm.
and let's say that so there is no goal. I never really like to set a goal, even more when it's about energy. That's for me something a little bit more in the past. But to understand, so the purpose to use it, it's really like to approach this journey to really go through the surrender of life and the surrender of this life force, to allow it to really let it awake. Because the more we let it awake, the more we also start to cleanse and to peel off structures, fear-based
Mm-hmm.
conditioning, patterns,
Mm-hmm.
all those words that we say, all those judgments, critics that we say to ourselves and to the others, or those self-judgments. You start to really witness those kind of things in your daily life. That's why I always say the magic is happening on your daily life. Of course, the session, the mat, it's there and there is an
Mm-hmm.
experience, but it's during the embodiment, the integration that really things are happening, that you start to
Mm-hmm.
notice certain behaviors in you that, like, does it really belong to me? Or even some foods, some people start to stop certain foods. Some people just start to also ground themselves much more, to start to
Mm-hmm.
also increase their self-esteem. So I
Healing.
honestly, Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
healing. Exactly.
Mhm.
That's the word.
Yeah.
There is a lot of healing, and again, it's a very brave path also. So you need to trust the process, because
Mhm.
it's not always like a walk in a park full of flowers and roses.
Yeah, for sure,
But
for
we
sure.
know this. So as you said before, like the people that are ready for this, they are the people they are coming and they are welcoming it, and they are welcoming
Mhm.
themselves, by the way. It's not even about something that is external, just themselves.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, I'm looking forward to trying that soon. And
Yes.
yeah,
Well, it's
so
thanks to you that we are coming to Torino, eh? So thanks for how do you say, enlightening or lighting up the the spark to make it happen.
when I heard you were from my same city and you were doing these things, I said I have to contact her for sure, and we have to do something about it.
Yeah. No, and
Uh,
it's beautiful that you also came across LEAP, the Life Force Awakening Process Energy
mhm,
School, where it's also like where I form myself. Now I'm doing the other training always about Life Force, which is inner dance, who is
mhm.
actually the founder, PV Arasa is called the founder of all this, let's say, movement. So yeah, in the end, you see how the energy is just like
Yeah,
gathering together and without any duality or but just full union. Here we are.
yeah, absolutely. Great. Thanks so much for sharing all of this. Would you like to add something else? Otherwise, you can let people know where they can find you if they want to come to Torino, what you're doing in Amsterdam, whatever you feel like sharing now.
So there is definitely the event on Friday 21st. Actually, we just say that it's fully booked. So that's but there is a waiting list because we are probably adding another date on the Saturday 22nd of April. So yeah,
In Torino,
in Torino,
Italy. Yeah.
sorry, yes, in Torino, in Italy. That's the event that is happening in April through.
I'm going as well. I'm looking forward to that.
But important to don't have any expectations, eh? That's
No,
the most important thing
you're
that I
right.
didn't mention.
I know, you're right. I like
No.
doing these things, so even just do something for myself.
Yeah, che grande. And but yes, so basically I'm always based in Amsterdam. That's my headquarter, let's say. And yeah, you can find me also on Instagram with my name and surname, Samantha Giovazzini. There I post all the news and where I'm going to facilitate and to hold space through yoga and life force, but also through leap and through inner dances. So just stay tuned. And yeah, I hope to connect with all of you. And again, I'm super, super grateful for this opportunity, Valentina. So thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's an honor for me to have you here. And I'll see you very soon.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks
Thank
everyone for
you.
listening.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.